This is the County Fair podcast, where fair influencers share their valuable insights, strengthening and growing the long-lived tradition of the County Fair. This episode is brought to you by ShoWorks. ShoWorks fair entry software has set the gold standard for fairs across the United States and Canada for more than 20 years, serving more than 75% of the country's fairs. ShoWorks is a place to handle fair entries, billings, payouts, and the incorporation of virtual elements into your show and auction. Visit www.fairsoftware.com to learn more.
Welcome to the County Fair podcast. This is Christina Rudolph, your host, and I am here with Sherri Hooper. Sherri is an old friend of mine that I have gotten the joy of working with on the Area Go Texan with Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. But Sherri wears so many hats, and I am laughing because we are actually sitting in the historic Catalena Hatters store right now in the back, watching all of the hats get made custom. She's sitting here sewing her hats in front of me, but we have so much to talk about. Sherri has her hand in everything. And Sherri, hello, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for being here.
So I'm glad that we get to interview you. Give our listeners a little bit of background about you and why I might be asking you to be on the County Fair podcast.
Well, probably because I'm so timid and shy. Said nobody ever. I've never met a stranger. I love volunteering. I love people. I love seeing things happen, making things happen, and just sharing, and especially working with youth.
That's wonderful. So when I first met you, you were a leader within the Gonzales community in Texas. So you worked a lot with the show there and helping the youth volunteering there. How did you get your start in that?
I started out with Area Go Texan in Burleson County here, close to Bryan, and that's where I got started. And from there, I eventually moved to Gonzales, so I transferred there. But I was already in leadership roles, and so with leadership, you're working with all the counties, 68 counties wide now.
What was one of the best things that you got out of working with all the counties with Area Go Texan?
The people. It's a family. Everything we do is for families and for students, and it's just the camaraderie that you have. You make friends everywhere you go, and you're never alone. You can pick up the phone at any given day of the time, and somebody's on the other end. As likewise, I was always on the other end of the phone, 24/7, 365. But when we got to expand Area Go Texan, and I got to head northwest and get all the way to my home county, Comanche County, which included Hamilton and a few along the way, it was wonderful to get to add those counties that I wanted to be in so badly.
You got to do a lot of traveling, put a lot of miles on that car, traveling from county to county. What are some of your best memories of doing that?
Some of the best memories, I guess, or maybe the most wicked, as some people would say, would be making 3 events in one day, starting maybe in, I remember one day for sure, I started out in Brenham, and then I went to Lee County, and then I went up to, I can't remember if I went to Waller, or I may have gone over to Walker County, to Huntsville. I made 3 events in one day.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's wicked.
One of the coolest things about the committee Area Go Texan that we're on with Houston Livestock Show is they're meant to promote the counties themselves, but the show, Houston Livestock Show, within those communities. And with that come a lot of events, a lot of activities that take place. What are some of the most unique events or things that you're most proud to be a part of?
Well, helping with the county stock shows, we just, that's our default, because the students, we're all about scholarships. So whatever we can do to help kids. Fundraisers, there are many fundraisers. Some people do golf tournaments, there's steak suppers, there's reverse raffles. There are just drawings, gun raffles. I mean, people will buy lots and lots of tickets, especially because they know the money is going to the students in your counties. And so that's the best part about it, all the fun things. It's a lot of work, but it's fun.
What do you think, you've seen so many different fundraisers, especially to support the youth, support scholarships. What are some of the most successful ones you've seen, and what do you think it takes to make that happen and pull it off?
It takes teamwork, first of all. Teamwork. You have to have somewhat of a leader, but not a boss. Everybody always works together. The idea has to be thrown out. Everybody has to agree, and then everybody has to do their part. Everybody has to have a shovel. You're not just the one carrying the bucket. Everybody has to have a shovel. And it depends on the county. Some counties do good with, just little raffles. Some counties can pull off a dance, a steak supper, and bring in $50,000, $70,000 in one night.
Yes.
It happens. It happens all over. But some counties just don't have, their community is not, accordingly. So if you have to do 10 smaller ones, do 10 smaller ones to end up with your bottom dollar. And not everybody can just go in and have a big, powerful one in one night. They don't have the resources, or the people just can't afford sometimes to go that route.
Yeah.
They can do a little bit all through the year, but not one big time. So, you have to know your community, you have to know your supporters, and then work accordingly.
I think that's really important because each community is different. Each community has individuals and companies that can contribute in different ways. One thing that I've always tried to do is get to know who my donors are and how they even work their budgets, so that they know, when to ask them for things and when to hold your events.
Yes, some businesses are end of year donors, some are first of year donors. It depends on if they're corporate or if they're mom and pops. Another thing I learned many, many years ago back in Burleson County is we would have a dance and a big live auction. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can raise their hand on a $700 or $2,000 item, but 99% of the people in that building will write their name on a silent auction paper,
oh, wow.
up, in increments of $5. And they may end up spending $200 or $300 with several little things, but they just won't raise their hand on that big ticket item. So remember, everybody in the building is there to support you. Give them an option, give them an outlet to be able to do that.
That is so important. That is the most wise information that I've heard, definitely for anyone out there trying to fundraise. A lot of work goes into silent auctions.
It does, but everybody working together, we would always say, okay, every member of on the committee has to bring 3 items, or you can either buy them, make them, or get them donated. It doesn't matter. You are responsible for giving us this many items. And so however you decide to do that is fine, but then that's just that much. I mean, every $20 to $75 that comes in adds up. And if you've got 50 or 75 items on that table, look how much money you've made. And there are people walking away feeling good in their heart, knowing they did something to help you, other than just buying a meal ticket or whatever.
Yeah, they're going to show up next time because
they
feel good about that.
Because they knew they helped.
What's the most unique auction item you've seen?
Oh, my.
Putting you on the spot.
Oh, my. There has been so many thousands.
I've been in an auction with you, a raffle with you, where there might have been a little moonshine raffle.
There might have been a whole lot of moonshine one night to raise some funds for a certain county.
Very good cause.
Yes, very good cause. And so that's and it always does well. We call it homemade juice.
Yes.
Yes.
Some good homemade
good juice. That does well. When you can get anything from a country artist and what have you.
Yes.
We in Gonzales, I had some great connections. I was able to get a great deal of George Strait autographed stuff because one of his band members, and that always brought us a lot. And tickets to events, like rodeo tickets and stuff like that. People, we can't sell them for more than face value. That's against the policies with no scalping. But if you sell them a pie and give them a set of tickets to the rodeo, they can pay you $5,000 for that pie.
That's amazing.
So think about it. You're not selling them the pie. You're not selling them the tickets. You're giving them the tickets. You're selling them a pie.
That's a really smart way of handling it.
Yeah. And so, and it raises money for scholarships. But it has to be like at an event. It just is not something you can do personally, of course.
Yes. It
has to be under the nonprofit umbrella.
Yes, that definitely helps.
Yes.
You mentioned some connections with bands, and you are a woman with connections.
Well, I don't know, acquaintances, I guess. Maybe it's a good word. Yes.
You don't shy away from a good concert.
No.
You don't shy away from being in the moment, in the know, in the scene.
A lot of work.
A lot of work there.
Yeah.
I think you've used those talents at an event in Brazos County.
Burleson County, Brazos Valley, in the Brazos Valley in Burleson County for 28 plus years. There's this little gig we have out in the pasture. It's called Chilifest.
Not so little for those listeners.
No, Snook,
Texas.
Texas America, that's the way I call it, has 500 some odd people officially living in it. And one weekend a year, except for COVID stuff, we have about 40,000 more out there in
40,000 more
yes,
people.
approximately 35, 40,000, and for a weekend. And we Chilifest is a nonprofit organization, and their goal is to help others. And so Chilifest donates back to other nonprofit organizations, multiples, and we'll average 150, 200,000 a year on most years, especially here of late. You know, in the beginning we were getting going when it used to be little bitty, and then it started growing.
Yes.
And the first year that we were volunteers, there was a handful of us out there, and then we got it up to like 60, and they were like, "Oh my, that's a lot!" And now we'll have 700 or 800 to 1,000, back depending the students that come out, and we have students from all over. It's not just local colleges; they come from across the borders and this, that, and the other, Oklahoma, all around. And but a lot of the locals will ride buses, which we encourage, and that's part of our alcohol awareness and not driving and stuff. We donate to those causes as well, and then they are there supporting us, driving the students. And so we would park in several hundred acres because they would all drive out in the good old days back in the 90s and stuff. People drove, always, and now the students will bus, and so it doesn't take quite as many volunteers. But it's fun. The main thing, if you do have an event with a lot of volunteers, you've got to take care of your volunteers, especially when you have them out in the middle of nowhere. You've got to feed them, you got to water them, you got to have all the little things that they might not have or might not remember to bring. Sunscreen, chapstick, this, that, and the other. But we just take it one notch farther. Out there, we have our own cooking team. Chilifest is a chili competition, but mostly it's a lot of great concerts. Our cooking team takes care of all the volunteers, all the law enforcement, and all the entertainers.
Oh, wow.
And oh, darn, I have to deal one-on-one with the entertainers.
Oh, man.
Oh, darn. And a few of my volunteers, I designate some, and they're you have to have the right person that's not going to just be starstruck and just, they've got to focus and know that they're there to do a job and we're there to do a job.
Right.
But it's just been really, really rewarding, and you meet some great, great people.
That's awesome. When you are working with volunteers and mobilizing that many volunteers, how big of a job do you give them? How small of a job do you give them? How do you communicate what you need, and how do you get those volunteers? Okay,
well, a lot of the nonprofits that we donate to, we recruit volunteers from those organizations, and it may not be those people. For instance, the Down Syndrome of Brazos Valley is one of our we donate to them. And, of course, there's limited things that some of the people that are a part of that could do, but their parents, their aunts, their uncles, their bankers, the people on the board, anybody, your next door neighbor can volunteer on behalf of an organization that you believe in. It does, and John Q, anybody pretty much can volunteer. You can just get a hold of us, at chilifest.org. But the main thing is I have got some very well-rooted volunteers that have been with me for many years, and we put them back in the same area every year. We've got several areas we take care of, and so I'll have a team lead at each one, and then we bring in some new people every year at each of the places. Obviously, the same ones don't. Some of us are back every year, but not always. And so the team lead is then responsible for that area. So luckily, even though I may be holding the umbrella, it has several points, and each point has to do their job for the umbrella to stay open. And it's a huge, huge team effort. It's a huge effort, but it's so rewarding. And, literally you could be taking tickets, you could be checking bags, you could just be making sure that they don't have anything in their hand when they're walking out the exit gate, or you could be up there chopping onions or putting the food out, the buffet for the volunteers or the entertainers, or you could be doing a special delivery to somebody's bus. You never know. You could be running Gary Allen and his wife back when he came the first time. My youngest daughter got to do that. She was so mad at me. I said, you need to go get in that pickup and sit down. She had some friends there, and she thought she was in trouble. Oh. And it ended up I thought it was going to happen. I was told, two-way, we're ready to go. And it took about 30 minutes or so. And so I'd go by, and she'd say, what'd I do? Why do I have to stay here? And I said, just sit there. And in about 30 minutes, the back door opened in that vehicle, and Gary Allen and his wife got in. I thought she was going to blow up. She was just taken aback, and she was like, she was so excited. And then she tells this story over and over because she said, I have never been so mad at my mother because my friends were there getting to be out running around, and I had to sit in a truck like I'd done something wrong. But then when I saw who got in, and that's one of her favorite
moment.
And they went to town, and then they asked that they stay while they went in and freshened up at the motel and brought them back. And to this day, she has thanked me many times that she got to do that, And so, and then her and her husband, Clay, one of the years that Gary Allen was there, they danced to, that was another memorable year for them. They were dancing to his music and stuff. And so, there's just a lot of fun things there. And the year they got engaged, they were on the stage dancing to Bree Bagwell, and it's just a fun thing. I have a few little pulls I can do every once in a while out there, and it's not just me. Some of our Chilifest chairmen, I think a couple of them have proposed on that stage, but it's just all about working together for the good of everybody, not to toot your own horn ever, because it's not one person that does things. It's a group, and it's a team effort. On anything you do. Cleaning house is a team effort. If the kids don't put their socks in dirty clothes, then, it makes your life harder. It just takes one little thing. And the most thing is I could tell you about anything you're doing, whether it be at a county fair, at work, at home. A positive attitude is a whole lot easier to deal with than a negative attitude. And if you wake up with a smile and share it, you're going to get so many more back.
ShoWorks Auction is taking junior livestock shows and sales by storm. As the leader in integrated live and online auctions, there's a viable solution to enhance every fair. Check out www.fairsoftware.com today.
Sherri, there's not a moment that I've ever interacted with you that you haven't brought that smile and joy.
It's just, I don't know, even if it's a bad day. And I've had some bad days, health-wise and stuff. I'm currently in a better state of health. I'm so grateful for. But, a positive attitude, power of prayer, get you way on down the road. That negative energy, you just waste so much time. You just waste time.
That's one of the joys of, getting to do this podcast and the listeners that we have. Most everyone is in that mindset of service, and they have that drive behind them, whatever it is pushing them to serve their communities and be able to rally their volunteers and do some good. And so I think that message that you just gave is going to resonate with a lot of our listeners.
Well, I hope so, and I hope the students understand that at every stock show you're at, there are millions and millions of volunteer hours to get you to that day.
Yes.
And there are many people that have your back. There may be that one that's got a thorn in your side for some reason, but get over that. Remember that it's about the moment. It's not about a while ago or in a little bit. It's right now. And if you just do your best at all times, you're going to be rewarded.
Yeah.
It may not be first place, but it's going to be second place maybe, or even fifth. It doesn't matter. But you've learned something, and you've improved yourself, and you have done all the things it takes to get to where you are right now today. And next time when you start that journey, you're going to take that knowledge and you're going to improve.
Yeah.
Each time.
That's right. Gives people a real sense of accomplishment.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You got to smile from the inside. It's not about what you look like on the outside. It's the good stuff comes from inside, and then you can't help it. It just happens.
Well, you're bringing a smile to my face.
Likewise, my friend. I'm so grateful to see you today. It's been a hot minute.
It has. So I know with Chilifest, things are changing this year.
Yes.
And I think it is what a lot of people are dealing with in this industry is COVID affected everyone.
It did.
Either your events got shut down or you had to modify them in ways you never even believe could be manifested.
Exactly.
What are y'all doing this year with Chilifest in particular coming out of COVID?
Well, through the last couple of years when we couldn't have the actual event, we did have plans for some other smaller type deals that we also had to pull the plug on because COVID didn't just run up and go away. It stuck around. This year, we are doing a modified version of things. I'm not really at liberty to give you a lot of information, but it will be a fun thing. It will be in BCS instead of at Snook this time, and it's a one-day event instead of a two-day event. But it's going to be helpful to our nonprofits that have been suffering because those nonprofits depend on donations, not only from our Chilifest organization, but all the other places. And when people aren't having events, they don't have money to give. And these corporations and stuff have been struggling too because they've had to keep their employees afloat. And people are working on grants and this, that, and the other. Yeah. This COVID has just been a nightmare. But hopefully our goal is to be able to have this smaller version of an event and still be able to give back some. It may or may not be, anywhere close to what we have, but $2 is better than nothing, and so that's our goal is to be able to put a little blood back in the veins of these nonprofits that have depended on us for so many years.
The nonprofits have suffered. I think, when you talk about even having an event that brings 40,000 people, to a community, that there's so much economic downturn when that doesn't happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
So having an event brings people to town and, helps to fuel that economic development across the community as well. It does.
Everything, one thing leads to another. You've got to have fuel, you've got to have food, you've got to, some people stay in the motels, hotels, that hot tax goes up, just your sales tax revenue. Yeah. There's just so many things that one little turn of events can make a snowball effect.
Yeah. Well, I applaud y'all for thinking outside the box as far as, trying to kickstart things again with Chilifest. And I know it'll be back to normal, whatever normal is at some point.
2022, we plan to be back in Snook, Texas with bigger and better than ever because everybody's going to be so happy to be back.
Yes.
But we're grateful to have the opportunity to attempt this newfound thing. You got to try. You got to try.
Definitely. So I'm squeezing in this podcast because you are in preparation of traveling.
Yes.
You are also serve as a vendor at various fairs and events across. From a vendor perspective, just tell me what you do.
Well, I travel with my daughter with the Texas Rose Boutique, and we go to Fredericksburg once a month. It's a trade day there, and that's been a fun little thing that once it got opened back up this past year, it was great because so many businesses had to have their doors locked because we couldn't have people coming in. Yeah. And so that was really devastating. Thank goodness for online stuff and phone calls because, you can ship. You can't have people in, but you can still ship. But about March, just going to these events, it's like people took a breath of fresh air. We could see a change. People, weren't, so many people, I guess, are vaccinated and this, that, and the other, but it had been just kind of held back and people kind of reserved and weren't going as much. But approximately March, a lot of the vendors realized that things were getting back to what we used to call normal in somewhat, and it's just gotten so much better. We were at the junior high state rodeo finals in Gonzales a week. We were in Abilene for the high school state final rodeo for a week, and it was a blessing. It was just a blessing to be. And we were at Round Top this past time, yes. And it was great to be able to see people out living life as we pre-COVID life, I guess. Smiles on their faces and not being scared to death, and just out and about. People have been trapped in so long; they needed out.
Yeah, I bet you were joined with joy of all the other vendors there as well.
Oh, absolutely. But the sad part is there are so many that was their only life is events. They didn't have a brick and mortar, which luckily, Texas Rose is downtown Bryan. But the ones that don't have brick and mortar, a lot of those did not make it through. They didn't survive, and that's really sad.
People really have to assess, whether they can keep going or not.
It's sad. There's been so many that did not make it through. And it's the mom and pops. It's not the corporations. It's the mom and pops, the ones that we go to and ask for donations for Little League and this, that, and the other. All the events that keep these nonprofit fundraisers going. Yeah. That's who you go to.
Yeah.
Because the others have to get 12 miles worth of paperwork to get clearance to give you a gift certificate for a hamburger.
Yeah.
And the mom and pops just say, sure, here, and that's the people that have suffered the most.
Yeah. It's very sad.
It is.
What did everybody that listens to this deals with vendors in some form or fashion? What are some of the things you look for as a vendor to determine whether you're going to go to a fair or an event?
Okay. Well, the hours of operation, and do you have to have a ticket to be in that building to shop? If people have to pay to go there, they won't. It needs to be open to the general public of the community, not just the people at an event, per se, like the rodeos and stuff. It needs to be open to anybody to come. The space you have, the amenities there, are you going to have plenty of room? And there's just so many different, the cost, of course, some of them are outlandish, but there's just, it just trickles down. There's so many things, but one of the main thing is if you don't have the traffic coming through, you're not going to make enough sales to warrant being out with all the expenses. But the main thing I could say was don't make your people have to be ticketed, pay to get in. Let them come in freely for your vendors, because you're going to benefit too. They're going to see your facility. They're going to be at your event. And,
right.
I can understand if there's a rodeo, but then there's another expo building with all the shoppers. Let them have to pay to the rodeo, but let them go shop.
Yeah.
Because the vendors help draw your people there too.
Yeah. Same as we talked earlier about nurturing your volunteers. It's really important to nurture your vendors.
Yes. They've paid to be there to make your event better. So take care of them.
Okay. Well, obviously it works because you've got shows on the calendar that you're headed to. So.
Yes, ma'am. We're actually headed out of Texas for the first time with the boutique. Friday, headed to Oklahoma. So we hope it's a youth rodeo, an international youth rodeo. So we're excited to see how that's going to be. That'll be something different for us.
I think I have a friend working that. I'll have him come by.
Yes, that'll be great. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, this has been great talking with you, Sherri. As soon as we met in the store, we started chit-chatting, and I said, wait, we should just save it for the podcast so we can catch up.
I know, and I know I said a few things, but I don't remember what all it was. But the main thing is, put in a little effort, volunteer, teach your kids to volunteer. It's so rewarding. You get back so much more than you give, and you can't. I always learned a long time ago, I taught my kids, don't ever point a finger at somebody, because there's three looking back at you.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do it and you're not helping in some way, don't call somebody else out.
Yeah.
Lead them and show them how. Don't talk bad about them. If not, just show them. Lead by example.
Well, thank you for leading by example, and thank you for all of those that you have impacted and brought along and shown them how to volunteer well, how them to serve well, and how to give back, because you have made a difference across so many different counties in Texas, and you're not stopping anytime soon. Keep going.
Lord willing, I plan to keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep on keeping on. It's a fun thing. It's exhausting at times, yes, and sometimes I probably shouldn't have done the things I did health-wise, but that is what kept me fighting. You've got to have a goal, and you've got to do what you love. And as long as, you're making good things happen, then why stop? You might be slower, but don't stop.
Don't stop.
Nope, not at all.
Well, thanks for being a blessing to so many.
Well, thank you for inviting me to visit with you this morning. It's been fun.
All right. Thanks, Sherri.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the County Fair Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend, and tell us what you'd like to hear on the show by going to www.countyfairpodcast.com. And to you and yours, may God bless you.